Hello everybody, it is me, 7th Hanuman. So today I want to make this video in response to another video, a video from a different content creator. And he made this video claiming that 7th Hanuman is possibly a Freemason member. And here's the description. It says, see what he is doing with his hands in the photo. Fingers interlocked and forming a fist, with the thumbs forming a pyramid. That is a well-known Masonic hand sign. Could it be accidental? Maybe, but it is very difficult to accidentally throw this hand sign, especially sat in such a position in front of a camera. It seems like he is signaling to other Masons who may be watching that video. He has some good info, but like so many other controlled opposition agents, you have to eat the meat and spit out the bones when digesting their information. The so-called TI community is filled with agents. Okay, so the first part, he explained that my fingers were interlocked and forming a fist, with the thumbs forming a pyramid. That is a well-known Masonic hand sign. Okay, so I don't know anything about Freemasons. So if that is how they do their hand sign, then I believe him, okay? So he's telling the truth. Now the second part here, could it be accidental? Maybe, but it is very difficult to accidentally throw this hand sign, especially sat in such a position in front of a camera. Now this part right here comes from his dumpster stain Gangstalkers. So this is a good example of the lower voice to skull feeding his mind with the idea to support the idea that it's difficult to accidentally throw this hand sign. Now, at the time when I made this video, I was not trying to throw no hand signs. But I do have to agree that my dumpster stain Gangstalkers most likely fed me the ideas or the way to sit with that posture. Okay? But I was not thinking about sending no message to no Freemasonic group. Okay? And I wasn't trying to do anything with the Freemason. I'm not a Freemason. I don't know anything about Freemason. I don't know about their history. I don't know who's in it. I don't know who's in charge. I don't know how many members they have. I don't pay any fees if they charge fees. I'm not affiliated with any of them. So this video here is not trying to send a message to any Freemasonic group. So he made this video in slow motion, basically showing me throwing the sign. Whatever information as a TI we take in, okay, instantaneously, okay, the Gangstalkers, the dumpster stain Gangstalkers, could use it against you. How? Well, for Truthseeker, obviously based on his history, his experience, he thinks Freemason people are involved. So since he believes in Freemasons are involved, that's already in the seed. It's already been planted inside his head. Okay, the seed in his mind that anything related to Freemason, it's now possibly gang stalking related, or gang stalkers, or gang stalking is funded by the Freemasons. So that idea, the seed, is already in his head. Now, that idea didn't just got into his head overnight. That idea took a long time, an X amount of time, for it to become what it is today inside his head. I'm not trying to say he's scared of it or nothing, but it's just based on his learning, his knowledge, and his understanding, he truly believes the Freemason have something to do with gang stalking. And obviously that explains how he would know what the hand sign looks like, because he probably read up on the information. And when he goes out in public and he sees people kind of throwing this similar, like make a pyramid shape or whatever with their hand, interlocking with their hand, the dumpster stained gang stalker will remind him through lower voice to skull and make him trigger Freemason thoughts, okay? And obviously by watching my video here, seeing me doing that, his dumpster stained gang stalkers whispered, okay, into his mind, into his ears, Freemason. And that's how he correlate the connection that, oh, 7th Hanuman is probably a Freemason because he's sitting there with those hand signals. Because if you want to really talk facts, he can't prove that I'm a Freemason. He can make assumption. Well, now I'm responding to his video and telling him I'm not a Freemason. So that ends there. Unless he can somehow grab some paper trail that shows that I'm a Freemason, or photos of me hanging out with Freemason, right, at a party or whatever, wherever. And he's not going to find that. Because I'm not a Freemason. I have no relations with Freemasons. So this idea came from his dumpster stained gang stalkers. So I just want to clarify that. Alright, so the next video is from Targeted Patton. So I just found this out. Now I want to say, okay, this title, I hope that TIs don't actually believe this bull. And he made this video because I guess he was commenting in one of my other live video, and I was not responding to anything he was typing into the chat. So that's what got him, a bit upset, I guess, at the time, and he made this video. Okay, so first I need to clarify. When he was typing into the chat, I was away from the computer. I was at work. I set the video on repeat, okay? It was on repeat, and it went on for about 11 to 12 hours, almost 12 hours. So he joined into this live stream past the 2-hour mark, okay? I was only around when I started the stream, maybe, who knows, maybe the first hour, and then I left. So when he was watching this video, I was not there, so I can't answer any of his questions. So let's play this video, and maybe I can answer some of his questions now. Thoughts? Does it make sense?
Okay, I had to make this video. I'm watching 7th Hanuman, and my brain is starting to hurt here. I've been messaging him for quite a while. I jumped in his live because I seen Angels in here, and I wanted to ask Angels because he's calling me a perp now. For some reason, Angels is calling me a perp, and I wanted to know why. So I jumped in here, and I asked him, and of course then he says nothing. But it goes on and on here, and 7th Hanuman is going on and on about these lighting effects, okay? And I'm just asking him these questions. But here, I'll let you watch it here. And then I'll show you what I was asking him. Okay.
That's right. Majority of TIs are paranoid because it's a form of fear. You're living in fear when nothing is happening. It's only a paranoia thought that you received and you keep thinking into it to a point where you actually believe it's happening or believe it's a reality. For example, sitting in your car, you see someone walk by, they didn't even look at you, but somehow you receive a thought about gang stalking, and that person just so happened to walk by, they didn't even look at you, and your next thought is start labeling that person as a gang stalker. And if you buy into those thoughts, you're being manipulated to keep thinking that way. And when it comes down to it, how has that thought helped you in life? It doesn't. Because that person just walked by you, didn't even look at you. And if you want to spend your energy feeling negative, feeling a good feeling, 4 months, how there's a photo of Carl losing control, getting psychiatric help, getting labeled as a schizo, get prescribed with medication or some type. Medication will help for a while, but the entity is still there regardless if the TI is taking medication or not. So the TI is taking medication, it still does not mean these things right here in the photo are gone. These things in the photo are still there regardless if the TI takes medication. If the TI still can't handle it, all it takes is one bad breakout for the TI to get put into a jacket or get checked into some type of mental institute. Well, just getting the medication alone is already labeled as a schizo in the medical. Better situation. Thoughts is thoughts or thoughts are being attacked. All it is. Us with you. Okay, so since he's forwarding, the video, it's not really getting a clear message. I just want to answer here on the screen. So he actually typed in my video in the live chat, Patton. He typed maybe, but there are people with the power of choice who are choosing to gang stalk. Now I want to explain this. The people are not being given the options to gang stalk or not. Okay? So how it works is these dumpster stained gang stalkers, okay? I'm talking about the one, okay, let's just talk about the ones that's following Targeted Patton. The dumpster stained gang stalkers that's following Targeted Patton every single day. Those dumpster stained gang stalkers knows everything about Targeted Patton because it follows him every single day. That group of them, okay? And the ones that are just around his properties and at his neighbors, okay? So how it works is your neighbors, okay, the people are not given the option to be a gang stalker or not. All it is the dumpster stained gang stalkers is feeding the idea into the TI's mind. And a lot of these ideas are instantaneously based on what's going on at that exact moment or whatever's unfolding as the day plays out. And over time, with all these things happening, these ideas, okay, it's been planted into the TI's mind. And that's why each TI have their own idea what's going on, because it's all based on the experience of that TI over time, over a period of who knows how long, how many years, how many months. So that's why each TI has a slightly different belief system and understanding what's going on. Because the dumpster stain gang stalkers, one of their major way of messing with the TI is it we assure the TI of whatever's going on at that moment that is related to gang stalking. So what does that mean? Let me continue here. So his next message is, I would like to know why Angels Don't Fall is now calling me a perp. Okay? So Targeted Patton is asking why Angels Don't Fall is calling him a perp. Now, to answer this, the dumpster stain gang stalkers that's following Angels Don't Fall feed the idea into Angels Don't Fall's mind based off of who knows whatever happened in the past with Angels Don't Fall and Targeted Patton. But their interaction, something happened in the past. And based off of those interaction between the two of them, for whatever reason, whatever their conversation is, whatever their confrontation is, the dumpster stain gang stalkers of Angels Don't Fall planted the seed, that's negative seed of Targeted Patton inside Angel Don't Fall's mind. And over time, if Targeted Patton and Angels Don't Fall have continuously bad interaction with each other, bad experience with each other over time, that seed will start to blossom. That negative idea inside Angels Don't Fall's mind that Targeted Patton is the perp, that idea will start blossoming and start becoming the truth inside Angels Don't Fall's mind. So Angel Don't Fall is projecting the idea that Targeted Patton's a perp. Inside his mind, it's the truth. Even though I know Targeted Patton is not a perp. He's a TI, just like Angels Don't Fall. The real perps are the dumpster stain gang stalkers that's following Angels Don't Fall and following Targeted Patton and following every TIs out there. They are the real perps getting away with this. And I'm the only one here that's putting them on the spot. And I'm trying to show other TIs and try to help other TIs connect dots. Because if you're a TI, well, I know everyone's a TI, but if you're a true TI, you need to realize that your dumpster stain gang stalkers are following you every day. But if you don't see it, well, maybe one day you will. Hopefully, you will. So the next message, Targeted Patton. He all of a sudden has nothing to say. So I assume he's implying why Angels Don't Fall is not answering him. Well, that's because this live stream is on rerun. And it's already 2.5 hours in. Angels Don't Fall, I was talking to him in the beginning of the live stream, so I left, and I'm sure he left. So Angels Don't Fall is not even in the chat. You know, it'll be nice if YouTube can actually leave a timestamp next to each one of these comments, in the live chat. That would be nice. Because if Targeted Patton would have saw the timestamp of the conversation of Angels Don't Fall, the last comment from Angels Don't Fall, then Targeted Patton would have known that, most likely he's not there no more. But because there's no timestamp, it does seem like, the person's there, but then why aren't they answering? So YouTube should really change this and put timestamp on these live chats. Or at least, if put the cursor over the comment, it'll show some information on the comment, like when was it submitted, or when was it typed and submitted. So the next comment from Targeted Patton. Your neighbors can't gang stalk you if you have none. Now, so here's the thing. Even in the beginning, my very first Truth of Gang Stalking video, I talked about how when I first moved to my property, I went through what every TI goes through, believing it's the neighbors. So for the almost 6 months to a year that I moved here and all this started happening, I went through the phase of believing it's the neighbors. I went through the phase of when I left this place, I would look at my rearview mirror on my car and make sure if there's any car follow me. You know, when I was at restaurants with all the strange people that I don't know, I would get ideas that, oh, that person looks kind of like one of my neighbors. Even though I have no way of proving. And at the time, I would get ideas that, oh, that person looks kind of like one of my neighbors. Because I do have neighbors here, but they're just really far away. They're like 200 yards away. All right, so I do have neighbors. And not just one house, okay? There's like 7 houses all lined up, okay? Each house probably have an acre, but the closest one is about 200 yards away. And then from there, just go down like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all of them are adjacent to my property, okay? So any one of them could hop over the fence and get on my property. And when I first moved to my property, I did believe it was my neighbor. I kind of have to pinpoint down to which house, okay? That was at the time. I had to try to figure out who's coming over. And I was able to watch my CCTV and see no one was there. Especially when I remember at the time, or the day before, the night before, I remember, oh, something's going on. I would check my camera and no one's there. If I believe someone's on the other side, I'll instantly check my camera and no one's there. Okay? So I also went through that phase of confirming no one was there when I, in my mind, believed someone was on the other side of my house, was on the other side of the wall. Okay? So I went through this for at least a few weeks to a month until I finally convinced myself that it can't be the neighbors. Because my mind, I was believing it's the neighbors. Strongly believe too. Like really strongly believe. Like I'm right. Like believe. And then when I see it with my eyes on camera, there was no one there. So this went on for a while before I finally was convinced that it's not my neighbors. So I do have neighbors, and I did believe at one time it was my neighbors. Now I don't, because I know it's not my neighbors. Every time I leave my house, my neighbors do. And you're saying that's all in my head. No, okay, well, now I never said it's all in your head. Okay? And I'm pretty sure every time you leave, your neighbors don't also leave at the same time. You might feel like when you leave, it's quite often that they leave at the same time. Okay? You might feel that way, but I know it's not every time. There's no possible way every time. And so that's over exaggerating on your part, Targeted Patton. And it's comments like that, okay? That's really you're kind of, by making comments like that, you're tricking your own head to ignore a reasoning, okay, of what's happening. Because you should know it's not every time you leave the house your neighbor's also leaving. That's not every time. If you say 9 out of 10 times, that's hard for me to believe, but fine, I'll believe you. 9 out of 10 times, I'll believe you. But if you say 10 out of 10 times, I can't believe you. Because I know it's not every time. And when you're leaving your house, okay, let's say those times that when you leave and you do end up seeing your neighbor leave, well, because you already have that seed, that idea, you said every time, so that seed, the idea is already planted into your head. That's what would cause you to say every time you leave, you see your neighbors, when it's not true. But that seed is already planted into your mind. So, and every time you leave your house or you go to your front yard, you see your neighbors, the first thing your dumpster staying gang stalkers would do is lower voice to skull, whisper into your ear, your gang stalking neighbors are right there. Or whisper into your ears, the gang stalkers next door are outside now. They're going to follow you. They're watching you. Something along the line of those ideas related to gang stalkers and gang stalking. And you will most likely be guided into turning your head looking at a direction of your neighbors. And you're going to see your neighbors outside. So that not only reassure the idea that's not your idea, it's a thought that was fed into your mind. And once your eyes see them, your own eyes would look over and see your neighbors outside. That is the 1-2 combination that solidified that idea even more into your head. Okay? That's their tactic. And the reason your neighbors outside could be for anything. Okay? I don't even know why they're outside, but here's how you have to see this. They are not breaking the law by going outside. So you're going to have to convince your own mind that they have the right to be outside anytime they want. They can camp out in their front yard if they want to. It's up to you to not let it bother you. You see what I'm saying here? If you're going to let that bother you, you go outside to your front yard and you see your neighbor in the front yard. If you're going to let that bother you, then you need to take a step back, because that is where you're kind of losing reality a little bit. The dumpster staying gang stalker that's following you is feeding you too much of these BS ideas and BS thoughts. You have to take into consideration, you have the right to camp in front of your house, so does your neighbors. So you can't let it bother you, because if you do, you're just not having a good living situation. You're letting something that's out of your control bother you. And that is because your dumpster staying gang stalkers is able to plant that seed, the negative seed that your neighbor is a gang stalker, into your mind. And over time, you actually keep buying into that thought, into those thoughts, and has gotten you to where you are today. To a point where you're saying that every time you leave your house, your neighbors also leave their house. I mean, that's too extreme. And that's not true. Even though never been to your house. I've never seen your neighbors, and I already know they don't leave every time you leave. Right here, you also commented, or it's just a coincidence. Now, some of it could be coincidence, but while others is on purpose. And how? Here's how. I told you guys that everyone's a TI. Everybody is a TI. And then Targeted Patton, Angels Don't Fall, me, myself, and others, there are true TIs. Now, I believe in an area, in a living area, okay, like a region, these things are watching everybody. But the true TIs within that region is more entertaining for these things to be observing, because the true TI have a better awareness of their existence, okay? The true TI could be messed with better in a way. So like right now in my area, whenever I talk trash with my dumpster saying gang stalkers, I know all of them are listening. All of them can hear me talk trash about them. Like, I'm talking trash about Targeted Patton's dumpster saying gang stalker now, and they're probably going to talk about it amongst them. All right? You don't have to believe me on this one, but I already know. So, your neighbors could be let to go outside for many different reasons. First of all, your dumpster staying gang stalker already know you're about to head out the door. But maybe a few minutes before you head out, other dumpster staying gang stalkers, okay, in your area could also tell that neighbor that you truly believe is a gang stalker something along the line of, "Oh, you should go collect the mail," okay, or or you forgot to get this thing out of your car, or you forgot to go buy this. You should go buy this now, so later on you don't have to go out and buy this thing. So these thoughts, okay, these thoughts will come in as a good thought, okay, based on the person. The person always take care of their business. That's always on point, on time. So, or has to do something, right? Need to get a birthday gift or whatever, and later on, before the birthday person comes home or whatever. So try to plan these things, right? So it's a nice thing, a nice thought that, oh, I should leave now to get a birthday gift and leave me some extra time to wrap the gift or whatever. So it's a good thought for that person, okay? And the dumpster staying gang stalker is using this idea into your neighbor's mind to trigger your neighbors to, oh, better put on the shoes, get the keys, go wash the hands, grab a bottle of water, and then walk out the front door. And at that time, you already walked out your front door maybe a few seconds before. And then your neighbor walks out, and then you targeted Patton, your vision is guided towards your neighbor's home, and you're going to see your neighbors. And then now when you see your neighbor, well, next thing you do, next thing that the dumpster staying gang stalker is going to do is send you that idea. Your neighbor, the gang stalkers are outside. They're going to follow you. And as you're watching them walk out their front door, your mind just heard these dumpster staying gang stalkers telling you that they're going to leave their house and follow you wherever you're going. You see how with this information, now your mind, that seed that was planted, now just started to blossom. It's starting to grow. It's starting to become a tree, growing as a tree now. So you see what I'm saying? You see how that works? And if you don't really understand and you don't think this is possible, well, let me tell you, it is possible. Because all TI, all true TI in the community, all of us are receiving negative thoughts from these dumpster staying gang stalkers. And whenever the true TI goes out and they see people in the parking lot, they see people in stores and start believing they're gang stalkers, well, all those thoughts comes from the dumpster staying gang stalkers. Because out of all the thoughts in the world, you have to think about gang stalking and gang stalkers. That's because those dumpster staying gang stalkers, the ones following you, whisper into your ears and started the idea, triggering the thought, triggering the idea. But since the true TI, the community, 99% of them do not know that they're receiving thoughts. So these TIs would believe it's their own thought and start believing that, oh, they know who the gang stalkers are. They start labeling people in public as gang stalkers, when in reality, there's no proof. It's all assumptions. It's all based off of emotional feelings and believing that somehow that TI knows and is a psychic. And that the gang stalking community, all the gang stalkers are so dumb that they're making such an obvious thing that they're gang stalkers, and the TIs are so smart, and that the TI got psychic ability and can pinpoint exactly who are the gang stalkers. See that false belief of the TI community? How TIs 100% knows who the gang stalkers are. When if you think about it, there's no fucking possible way. Oh, excuse my language. There's no possible way. You go out into public, there's no way you know who the gang stalkers are. But that thought came into your mind. You need to know, where did that thought come from? That is where you need to start recognizing, where's that thought coming from? Why was that thought triggering your head? Why can't you think about something else? That's why I made videos telling TI needs hobbies. You're going to need hobbies, because having hobbies, it's something for you to keep your mind occupied thinking about, keeping you involved in other stuff other than gang stalking or gang stalkers. Does that make any sense? I hope that makes sense, because I have nothing against Targeted Patton, and I already know it's his dumpster stained gang stalkers making him make this video. So I'm just trying to answer questions and help him and hopefully chip away some of those negative seed that's been planted into his mind. Okay, the next comment from him is, every single time I leave, they leave. So that's, like I said, it's it's over dramatic on that part, because I know it's not every single time Targeted Patton leaves, they leave. I mean, that seems too extreme. I think 5 out of 10 times is already extreme. But if he's gonna say 10 out of 10 times, that's I'm not gonna accept that. I know it's not true. And so they can affect you in your physical body, but their major form of manipulating a person is by using thoughts. All TIs can advance to recognition of understanding, oh, voice to skull and lower voice to skull are happening. And that's because that TI might not be fortunate enough due to his or her environment. TIs that live in an apartment complex, based on my experience of researching, are very unlikely to come out of this gang stalking understanding what's going on. That's because those
See, this is where he talks about how they they don't get him. His neighbors don't leave and come back whenever he leaves because he's not affected by it. Well, he doesn't have any neighbors. I mean, if you don't have any neighbors, your neighbors can't very well gang stalk you, can they? But but I'm telling you, like, they leave and come back every single time I leave my house. I've got my brother sitting outside my house, waiting for me to leave. Okay, the gang stalking is real. These people are doing it with the power of choice. Don't sit here and try to say it's entities making them do it. Okay, whether it is or not, they still have the power of choice.
So I want to answer here the neighbor part. Okay, I have neighbors, and I believe at one point they were the gang stalkers, but now I know they're not. And how I overcome that seed in my head was when I started installing cameras everywhere. And based on my experience, okay, I actually believe the neighbor somehow was sneaking all the way to my window. So literally on the other side of my window. That's how my mind was operating. I started to hear like sound from the other side. Started believing that they were all the way at my window on the other side. Literally ducked down ducked down by the wall underneath the window on the other side. But over time, when I keep checking my videos, and there was no one there. So when you get enough of those confirmation that no one was there, there's only two things you can do. You either continue believing someone's there, even though I'm seeing no one's there on video. So which one would you rather go? Well, you're going to go with what you see with your eyes. Over time, you keep seeing no one's there, but you keep believing someone's there, and you confirm that you were wrong, right? Confirming myself that I was wrong, that no one was there. Then now I can use my energy and start analyzing the situation, try to figure out, okay, so what could it be? So now I move on to the next phase. You get it? That's how I phase out of believing it's my neighbors. And based on my research with all the other TIs and their experience, watching their videos and reading up on their comments and forums, all true TIs go through the same beginning. It has to believe that it's their neighbors. All TIs go through this. It's like a systematic thing. It's like a manual that's being played out. Okay? So all TIs go through this. They all believe it's their neighbors. But some TIs will be more fortunate, either based on their living situation or based on what they encounter, what they learn, their background, is able to phase out of that and know that it's not the neighbors. And I'm one of those TIs. Okay, so that's how I share my information with you guys, try to help you guys. But if you're living at an area with neighbors close by, it's hard for you to phase out because you are tricked into maybe looking at your cameras, right? And just so happen you see a neighbor walking by the front of your house. Well, that's when you see that, you're gonna start believing that's a gang stalker. That's very easy to believe that. I can see that. And that's why I come here to tell you, explain to you what's going on behind the scene. What's going on behind the scene is the dumpster saying gang stalkers already know someone's walking down that street and already know one of your neighbor is about to walk past the front of your house. So your dumpster saying gang stalkers is doing a bunch of bullshit to trigger you, to remind you, oh, maybe you should check your cameras. And that's why you would go check your cameras and you're going to see someone at that moment walking by in front of your house. It sounds kind of extreme, but what I said there is very doable. It's very possible, right? I just broke down how that setup could have went on. Now you could say, well, that's because they're sending a voice to skull, or they're sending thoughts and ideas into the person's head. But if that is the case, then could you see what I explained? It's the way how everything could unfold. That's exactly how they do it. I just broke down their strategy, one of their many strategy. These dumpster saying gang stalkers will always have a heads up on us. That's because even as a true TI, that I know that they do these things to other people. They have an advantage over me because they're also in the regular people's mind. They can make the other people do things or see or believe in certain things that could go against me. Okay, you see how they could do that? They can make people in my family think a certain way or answer a certain way or talk to me a certain way and behave a certain way towards me. And then they can also make me think a certain way as I'm interacting with my family and start thinking that, oh, they don't believe me, they don't listen to me, they're always going against me, they're always talking, calling me crazy or talking about this other things. Notice how they can operate in people's mind and they can make people go against each other. So they always have this advantage over us. And that's where it's important for us true TIs to spread the message to society about these things' existence and how vulnerable we are to these things. It's by bringing up the awareness of humanity as society. It's like us true TIs, I've realized our responsibility as a true TI is to elevate the consciousness of society. Imagine society realized the existence of these things. Everyone's consciousness will be elevated. Our minds will be elevated to the next level. Does that make sense? So as a true TI, when you want to know what is your job, what is your point of this, what are you supposed to do? Well, if you can get to where I'm at, if you understand the stuff I'm talking about, then you have elevated your consciousness. Like, there's a part of me that none of you know about. Like, the way I talk trash to these things. I talk so much trash to them. All the way up the ladder to the leader. I talk trash about their leader. I talk trash about their God. I talk trash about their devil. I talk shit about all of that. Do I recommend you guys doing that? No. I can do that because that's how my story unfolds. So to me, that it's all truth. And I always tell these dumpster saying gang stalkers, I have not lied to them yet. I've not made one lie to them. And I can't lie to them because they can read minds. So everything I say, it's based off of truth from my perspective. And that's why I have no problem talking trash to any one of your dumpster saying gang stalkers, which I've done many times here on YouTube. Because I know these dumpster saying gang stalkers, a group of them are always following the TIs. And for the true TIs, we're being messed with. And they're getting away with this. But if you do what I do, if you start talking trash back to them, or if you recognize that they're there, you kind of have an idea what's going on, they're going to change their behavior. Okay, the behavior change. Okay, that's a fact.
You guys got too many neighbors, and these entities can use the neighbors as a scapegoat for tricking the TI to believe they're the gang stalkers.
Okay, now, I've been talking the whole time. I should have told you guys, you should look at this image here in the video. Look at this, and you have to just look at it and kind of ask yourself, what is it you're looking at? What is it you're really looking at? Is what you're seeing a simple image? It's a very simple image. Ask yourself, is this the image you see on a daily basis? Is this the image you see easily anytime you want? Can you recreate this image? Can you mimic this image? Can you find something similar easily online? Is it common amongst society? Look at this image and ask yourself, when was the last time you saw something similar? Or have you ever recognized anything like it? When was the last time you saw something like this on TV or in a movie and you actually acknowledge it? Or you actually are aware that you're looking at something that's kind of cool or kind of interesting? Because for me, until I realize what these things are, whenever I see this in movies and TVs, it doesn't trigger anything in my mind. And I know this because when I watch movies I've seen already, right? Movies I've seen when I was younger, or maybe a few years in the past, and I would see this now, I'm always surprised at how did I miss it in the when I first watched this video, or how did I miss it the last time I watched this video? It's because I believe we were purposely not given the energy to pay attention to these things. We were distracted to not think about anything when we saw these things. But now that I know what they are, whenever I see them, I I always just make a little note in my head, acknowledgement that they're there. But before you kind of figure out what they are, when you see it, you're not going to think twice about what they are. But then you're going to have to ask yourself, okay, what are you looking at? What is that? It's just light? Pretty light though, huh? Why is it like that? What is it?
But for me, my neighbors are nowhere close to me. I can come outside and I don't see no neighbors. So if I don't see no neighbors, then what is happening? You see how my mind can actually eliminate one step of the process?
Okay, seventh, your mind isn't eliminating the process. The fact that you don't have any neighbors eliminates that tactic, plain and simple.
I come outside, there's no neighbors, so it can't be neighbors. I set up cameras, I don't see anyone, so it can't be neighbors.
Okay, so he mentioned tactic. He's right. He's got a point there. But what tactic are they really doing? I mean, he said every time he leaves the house, the neighbors also leave, or the neighbors out in the front. What tactic is that? I mean, what is the neighbors doing? I can ask the same question. Why can't they be outside? Why why do you leave when they're outside? I can ask you that. Why? How come every time you have to leave when they're outside? Target Patton. Every time your neighbor's in the front, why do you pick that time to leave their house? I can ask you the same question, right? Do you have a good answer for that? How come every time you leave your home, you always do it when your neighbor's out front?
Neighbors.
Can't be neighbors.
But for a TI living in an apartment complex, they looked through, they opened the door, they could see a neighbor walking by, and now they're gonna think it's gang stalkers. So they're trapped in that stage because there's too many people around. So the TI living apartment complex set up cameras. Well, of course, those cameras gonna pick up people because a lot of people live in an apartment complex. So each time the TI look at the footage and see a person walk by, these entities gonna tell the TI that's a gang stalker, and that TI not realizing he or she just received negative thoughts, and it's not his or her own thoughts, but
Bullshit.
bought into it, and now that TI is gonna start thinking, oh, that neighbor is a gang stalker,
Bullshit.
and
Seventh,
from that moment forward,
either they have you completely mind fucking warped, or else you're an agent working for them. I mean, it's real simple.
whenever that TI sees that person again, that TI is
Okay, I don't know why he says real simple, because the stuff I'm sharing, it's based off of my experience, and I truly believe in my videos. I try to make a lot of sense. Like, the stuff I talk about might be extreme, might be kind of mind-boggling, but I also try to be as reasonable as possible. Like, I try to not be too extreme. I try to explain things using basic English, because I truly believe a person that can explain things in the most simplest English and get the ideas through is it's better than anyone using any fancy words, okay? And there's a lot of people out there who use a lot of fancy words, and they're really bad at explaining things. And I don't know why there's this standard of, oh, gotta use fancy words. No. If you can explain things using the simplest English, the simplest words, and get the idea, your point across your audience, then that's the best way. So in all my videos, I always try to make sense. Okay, I try to use common sense, and what I discover and what I know and sharing with the community is based on my personal experience, and I feel confident that my videos, the way I explain things, are pretty good. It's you might disagree on those things, but then the stuff I talk about, the situation, is very possible, right? As long as it seems possible, then maybe one day you'll have your experience and you'll actually understand what I was trying to say. But until you have those actual experience, yeah, one might find it difficult to believe, even though I try to make sense of everything and try to explain things in a realistic, possible, reasonable way. And I'm not an agent. I mean, after all these videos, I would imagine you know that already.
instantly is gonna believe it's a gang stalker.
See, and all the reason that Target Pan you don't believe me is because your dumpster stained gang stalkers planted the seed in your head for you to believe your neighbors are the gang stalkers, or anyone out in public that you run into, that they triggered a thought that, oh, they're gang stalkers, and you bought into that idea. For any TIs that bought into that idea, you have no way of realizing that these dumpster saying gang stalkers are actually next to you, they're behind you, they're following you every single day, and they are not human form. But they have done enough damage, okay, planting these negative seeds into the TI's mind to make the TI believe that these gang stalkers are the actual people in human form. So they're getting away with doing all these bad stuff. So you have no way of knowing that these things are doing the bad stuff to you. So all these years, if you've been a TI, they've been getting away with doing all this messed up shit to you. And by putting you in fear, they can technically control your activity, your habits, and control the way you think and the way you do things. It makes it easier for them to control a person when they know this person's got a lot of fear, either different types of fear, different forms of fear, but each fear is like a way to obstacle for them to use against the TI, and can manipulate the TI's daily life, daily decision making, and the way the TI move forward in life, and the way the TI look for jobs, or the way the TI go to places. If the TI are scared of going to Walmart or believe there's a lot of gang stalkers at Walmart, most likely the TI will never go to Walmart. That's because if the dumpster saying gang stalkers don't want the TI going to certain places, they can re-trigger that idea, the thought into the TI's mind at that moment, and make the TI reconsider the options. So we have options to do these things, and because of the fear that we have on other whatever reason, okay, well, based on that, technically it kind of puts a barrier on our options. It can eliminate some of our options because we have a fear based off of those situations. So we have an option to go to A, B, C, D locations, and we have some type of fear at location A and location C and D. Well, then the dumpster saying gang stalkers can send us thoughts about those, and then we'll end up going to location B. You see what I'm saying? So the more fear, the more different types of fear you have, the more weapons these dumpster saying gang stalkers can use against you or manipulate you in your decision making. That's why I always talk about no fear mentality. You gotta be able to go out and stop thinking that people are gang stalkers. Because after I've been making videos for about 3 years now, you gotta think about it. Since my first video, if you're still here following and you still believe your neighbors are gang stalkers or other people are gang stalkers, what has happened to you really? If you really need to think back about the last 3 years, what has really happened to you? Like, what is really going on? What's the gang stalkers doing to you, other than the fact that a lot of the time you wasted was also the way you think about, the way you project your life and project other people that you encounter. In reality, what is happening to you? What have you done to eliminate them? If you believe other people are gang stalkers, what have you done to stop interacting with them? What have you done to stay away from them? What have you done? Well, have you done anything like that? Have you tried to make your situation better? Have you tried to move to a new location? You don't have money to move? Okay, have you tried getting a job to get some money so you can move out of there? Like, what have you really done to make your situation better? Like, we all have problems, we all have secrets, but at least you're gonna need to start. You're gonna need to take that first step in making a change and making it start, right? And it would be a great thing if you know about these dumpster saying gang stalkers following you, and you could actually start talking trash to them, like me, like how I do it. That will really elevate you to the next level. Seriously, like, I'm not trying to say that, oh, I'm here at this level, but it's just what I discovered. That's why I'm here teaching you guys this. I mean, that's why I'm sharing these information that it's no other TIs really talk about. And, well, some TIs out there have experienced it. They agree with me. They know what I'm talking about. Those TIs are also elevated out of those situations. They also understand that no fear mentality.
Those are all problems and paranoias and fear that TI have to live with because that TI is living in a very populated area. See, those things I just mentioned do not apply to me
Because
because
you
I live
don't.
on a farm. I have no neighbors nearby. So
Right.
I don't go through those things. Notice the different path that we have. A TI who's living in those situations have that one specific path and barrier being set up to prevent that TI from breaking out of it. And for me, living on a farm, I have my own path, which it doesn't come with that barrier because I have no neighbors, so I can eliminate the paranoia thought that it's my neighbors. Does that make sense?
Right. Seven. So your paranoia is that it's all spirits gang stalking you. It's just spirits gang stalking you. It's not neighbors because you live on a farm. They can't get people to gang stalk you, right? So they'll make you think that it's spirits gang stalking you.
I got to pause here. I don't just think it's spirit that's messing with the TIs. I've shown videos, okay, of these strange things happening. I've seen it with my own eyes, okay, strange things happening. And this is how I, based on my experience, come to where I am today. The neighbor thing, the people in public thing is long, long ago for me. And wouldn't you rather be in this situation, knowing it's not the people in public, so you can finally go out and not have to think about that? So comparing the situation, wouldn't it be better in the situation that I'm in for every true TIs out there? So they can finally go out and finally realize that your neighbors are not the gang stalkers, and you finally can stop thinking that your neighbors are gang stalking you, and you can finally not let it bother you that there's a possible camera inside your home, many cameras or many uh, devices, a tracker in your car. So if you can get to where I'm at, you'll actually eliminate all those negative thoughts. So which would you rather be in? Would you rather be in the position of believing, oh, your neighbors are gang stalkers, people in public are gang stalkers, there's cameras inside your house, there's trackers in your car, they're tracking your cell phone. That's why you don't want to use your cell phone. You tape up your cameras. Like, would you rather be in that situation or be in the situation where I'm at, where I actually, based on my experience and what I've seen and captured on video, now I know it's not the people in public, it's not my neighbors, they're not in human form. That's how they can mess with us. And they're not dumb. They actually got a upper hand. They have an advantage over us. They can manipulate people's mind. They can send thoughts and ideas into people's heads. They can send negative thoughts. They can send good thoughts. They can manipulate the way we function, the way we do things, the way we make decisions. But all that and not have fear of them. And talk trash to them using your mind if you want to. I use an audio on loop. Like which position would you rather be in? But I understand for anyone to get to the same position that I'm at, it's going to take experience. It's going to take things to unfold in your life for you to get here because you're going to have to believe in that only based off of your own experience and what you encounter on a daily basis. And a lot of true TI just don't get to experience those things because of their living environment, because of their background, because of their surroundings, and because of who knows what happened in the past and what kind of seed that's been planted into the TI's mind and how good is the TI into using reasoning and finding out using process of elimination or have the resources to do things to try to counter whatever's going on in a positive way or to test if what the TI believe in are true. Kind of like how in the beginning, I believed people were sneaking up to my window. I truly believed that until I saw with my eyes that no one was there. So over a period of time of this happening, well, something don't add up. Notice how it takes that type of experience, that type of event, for me to snap out of it. And fortunately, one good thing is also my neighbors are, like Patton said, it's far away. I don't have neighbors, kind of technically 200 yards. So, and for me in the beginning, I thought it was kind of crazy how my neighbors would climb the fence and run 200 yards to my window, because that just make them vulnerable. That would make them so vulnerable. Why would anyone want to do that? That doesn't make sense. So that's another thing that's on my mind. That's helped me eliminate that false thought that the neighbors were sneaking up to my window. That false thought was initially comes from my dumpster stain gang stalkers that don't like me teaching any of you this information. They don't like me talking trash to your dumpster stain gang stalkers over the internet, sitting here at my home internationally talking trash about other dumpster stain gang stalkers.
This is technology. Seventh Hanuman. This is technology they're using against you. These are people making conscious decisions, knowingly fucking with you.
Sense.
Now, I want to know, how are these people fucking with you? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse my language. How are these people messing with you? A lot of the TI community, they don't really get into detail about this part. I mean, yeah, there are videos of people arguing, but how did the argument start? Over what? The information's not very clear. And a lot of times I feel like the information's not very fair. I mean, I've seen video of this TI filming the neighbor, and the neighbor was kind of crazy, right? Shouting on the street, pointing fingers at the TI with the camera. But it doesn't show how did it get started. What happened to get it started? It's just in the middle of it. I mean, people get pissed, right? People get pissed and things happen. And the real dumpster stain gang stalker behind the mastermind of that event is the one laughing and getting away with it. The dumpster stain gang stalkers already know which one of your neighbors have a short temper, which one of your neighbor is most likely the craziest, and most likely will argue or talk trash, have less manner. They already know who's who. It's easy for them to get that person to somehow have a bad interaction with the TI, and then the TI would be reinsured the idea that that's a gang stalker by the same dumpster stain gang stalkers that's watching all this unfold, and get these two people go against each other. And once that starts happening, that seed have been planted. And once that seed's been planted, it's hard to get it out, especially if you're living there and you're battling with your neighbors. Because even though you as a TI, true TI, you might be able to figure it out, but your neighbor might not be smart enough to figure it out. Your neighbor might not be as reasonable as you. Your neighbor might just be more ghetto than you. And they will not want to buy into this. They'll never say sorry about anything. They'll just continue thinking negative of you until maybe over time, when there's no interaction, over time, maybe they'll just kind of not be so aggressive towards you. But every time they see you out front, they'll probably get reminded of you. I mean, there's a lot of tension, a lot of discomfort in the environment. But that's what these dumpster stain gang stalkers will do to people in an area. Kind of like how I already know these dumpster stain gang stalkers here in this area are messing with my neighbors. I told you one time I came home, I parked the truck, okay? And I parked the truck, I backed in, and I was parked facing the neighbors' homes, okay? I see all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the neighbors' backyard. And I saw one of my neighbor, okay, outside, leaning up against uh, one of his horse stable against the wall. So he's kind of leaning up on it, trying to hide. He wasn't wearing a shirt, and he's got a rifle pointing towards my direction. It's like he was looking through a scope, his rifle scope, pointing at my direction, my property, and I'm sitting there in the truck, right, looking at him, looking at that direction there where he's standing at, and he got his rifle pointing towards my direction. And then maybe a few seconds later, he walked away. Now, what this means is, so he was already there using his rifle before I even got home and parked the truck. So who knows how long he's been standing there. But when I got home and parked the truck, it's almost like he realized that if he believed that I was, a gang stalker or whatever, because if he's already looking over here, he probably saw me drove and parked the truck and realized that I haven't been home the whole time. I just got home. It's almost like he had a moment of realization and he just walked away. But I saw him. He wasn't wearing a shirt. And I saw his rifle. He was holding his rifle looking through it. And I saw him walking away with it. So, what was that moment like? Like, was that divine intervention that somehow he was outside with the rifle? Who knows how long he's believing that? Maybe, who knows whatever's going on in his head? He might think that somehow I was messing with him or something. But it was also good that I was able to show up and I saw him with that. And that's one moment that happened, okay, in the past where I believe my neighbors are also being messed with. See, we're all vulnerable. Everyone's vulnerable. Everyone can be messed with. But does he know anything about gang stalking? I don't know. I never talked to him about gang stalking. I never talked to him more than 2 minutes. But obviously, whatever's going on in his head, whatever's happening, whatever these dumpster saying gang stalkers are telling his ears, telling him into thoughts, it's been negative. It's been negative towards us, towards me, towards my. That's why he's got a rifle pointing at my property and looking through a scope. And who knows how long that's been happening. And who knows if he's still doing that, because this was at least 3 years ago. 4 years ago, maybe. So I don't know if he still believes that, but I haven't seen him since. I mean, I don't really look over at my neighbor's property directions. I just kind of mind my own business. And I don't know how much time they spend looking over at me. But then it's almost like the way the property is set up is like when we go outside, we can see each other because we don't have a lot of tall trees and nothing like that. And I'm sure he's got cameras. And I'm sure whatever he's thinking, he probably try to catch the cameras and probably don't see anyone running over to his house. Maybe that's also another thing that's kind of making him he's not sure what's going on. Because I know he's probably listening to these dumpster saying gang stalkers, believing that, someone from my property or me is doing something or probably going over to his house or whatever. But he doesn't catch me on camera because I never even go close to his fence. So he can't catch anyone on camera, but yet he believes it. And then he's probably realizing that he's wrong whenever he believes someone's doing something. He checked his camera just like how I did, and he couldn't see anything. So he wasn't sure what's going on. I mean, that's the only way I can think of. Why else would he be pointing a rifle at my direction? He must have think I was doing something, stealing, or he does have horses. Maybe he thinks I'm doing something to his horses. I don't know. Because one thing about here is randomly at night, horses here will start screaming. It's almost like you see in a movie when someone uses one of those sticks and they kind of slap their horse and make the horse go. It kind of makes that noise like that horse like sound. It sounded like that randomly at night, in the middle of the night, late at night. At least that's the thought that I was getting, to believe that they think that I've been messing with their horse at night. I don't know. I mean, why else would they be pointing a rifle towards my direction?
So by chance, based on my living situation, my environment, I'm fortunate enough to stumble upon this, and that's why now I'm sharing with you guys. But you guys might not want to accept the information I'm sharing with you because you have never experienced my path. You see, I'm a TI on my own unique path. I may mention that we all have our own journey, and this is my journey. I'm trying to show you guys.
Okay, now he's going to start talking about the orbs and the stuff in the pictures that he sees. Okay, watch.
What I learned based on my journey. And if this makes sense to you, then I hope this information will help you move forward. And if you don't want to get on this path, then you're just going to be stuck on believing what you believed before. Because I'm showing you something that no other TIs have ever brought up. What are you looking at right now? What are you seeing? Just look at this image. What are you seeing? It's not just a bunch of pretty lights.
Okay, let me read his comment. I gotta go back a little bit here.
What are you looking at right now? What are you seeing? Just look at this image. What are you seeing?
Okay, so his next comment is, so I would they are being mind controlled. Don't they wonder what they are doing themselves when they leave, drive around the block and return? Okay, so this comment, okay, I answered earlier. Their mind, they could be fed a thought, an idea to do something, and they'll leave the house at that moment because the dumpster saying gangstalkers already know that targeted Patton is about to leave, or been. They can trigger targeted Patton to leave literally like instantly, or they can make targeted Patton remind targeted Patton, oh, you forgot your wallet, or or you should bring a bottle of water because it's hot outside. So right before targeted Patton leaves the front door and gets the idea, oh, I should bring a bottle of water. So he'll walk to the garage or go to the fridge to get the water, and then probably told another thought for whatever reason. My point is that delay targeted Patton 30 seconds to a minute to leave the front door. Well, that 30 seconds to a minute leaving the front door delayed, it's enough time to synchronize with the neighbors as the neighbors leaving because they're probably driving down to the liquor store or they just want to drive. Maybe they just got new tires on their car and they want to make sure that the tires are okay or for whatever reason that they need to drive around the block, like Targeted Pan said. Okay? And that's only one example, anyways. Okay? There's many, many different examples. All right? A variety of creative examples that can happen based on the person and whatever they need done that day, or whatever's on their schedule, whatever task they have to try to finish. So that's why the neighbors, based on whatever they need to get done, will leave the house. Well, since Target Pan now got the bottle of water and it's leaving his front door, and it's synchronized with the neighbors. And then the dumpster staying gang stalker will remind Target Pan, oh, your neighbors are outside, the gang stalkers. And Target Pan already looking over at the neighbors and then receiving the thought. So it's like a 1-2 combination of seeing and thinking the idea that the neighbor is a gang stalker. You see, all this sounds very, very easy to me because I already know the existence of these things and I already been receiving voice to skull. And I know voice to skull comes from these things. That's how it comes easy for me to make sense of all this. But if you're a TI, a true TI, and you're not receiving voice to skull that you believe you or not, which I already know you are, at least lower voice to skull. But if you have not recognized that, then it's harder for you to believe what I'm saying. But what I'm telling you is exactly how it's broken down. The synchronicity that the TI talk about in the community, that's how it works. Because these things are in everyone's mind. They're not just in your mind, they're in average people, regular people's mind. They're in the mind of your family, the minds of your loved one, the minds of your neighbors, the minds of your boss, your co-workers. They're in everyone's mind. And they can trigger thoughts, they can trigger ideas, they can trigger negative thoughts, they can plant seeds that are negative, they can plant seeds that are good. They can lie to you, they can fool you to make you believe a certain person's a good person when they're not. So they can trick a person in many different ways. And it goes, bold, they know what they are doing. Well, the neighbors definitely know what they're doing, but the neighbors are not the gang stalkers. Like the targeted Patton believes that the neighbors have the options to be a gang stalkers or not. No, there is no options to be a gang stalker. They are not the gang stalkers. It's not like, oh, they're given a contract, you get paid this much to be gang stalking targeted Patton. That's not how it works. They are not gang stalkers. The gang stalkers are not in human form. The gang stalkers are in your environment. They're next to you. They're next to your neighbors. They're next to your whole family. They're next to the people in your environment. Your whole block, all your neighbors. That's how TIs start believing that every time they leave the house, the neighbors are out because of synchronicity. It's not because the neighbors receive a text in their phone. Oh, targeted Patton's leaving. Oh, the TI's leaving. So go out right now and turn on your car and follow them. No, that's not how it works. There is no app. There's no tracker device. It's just the dumpster saying gang stalkers following the TIs or in people's heads. And when you're out in public, the dumpster saying gang stalkers is next to you, feeding you thoughts and ideas as you're in public and as things are unfolding in front of you. There's not. Okay, he also commented, talk to someone who is an expert in cameras and lighting. Okay, well, I don't know who this someone is an expert, okay? And what would be considered an expert? An expert is a professional that gets paid selling cameras or doing lighting photography, okay? So, or a professor at a university. Let me tell you, Target Patton, the information I'm sharing, they don't know about this. They are just like any other people. They're seeing it, and they'll probably explain it through whatever textbook they read previously or referenced by previously. They wouldn't know what this is other than from what they learned in textbook. And there's a lot of things in textbook that don't make sense. That's because they don't understand. But when you see it with your own eyes, you can make the decision that it doesn't add up. So you're telling this right here, this image, a light is hitting the camera and somehow it's creating all these other lights of different color. If it's that easy, we'll be seeing this stuff all the time. It's not that easy. And unless you know of an expert, if you know their name, their contact, I would like to contact them too. I would ask them. Or if you want to ask them, make a video about it, go ahead. I would watch it. And then he also typed, Target Patton typed, wow, they really got you, buddy. Have you talked to any expert in cameras or lighting? So when he's asking me these questions, I wasn't even there. And I have talked to people about this. I've shown people this. And I've done many, many hours of research on this. I have looked at many, many photos on this. So this is not something that just I learned last month. I've been known about this for years, and I've been gathering photos and information for years. If you've seen enough images of what I've seen, these expert, quote unquote experts, Their explanation doesn't do it justice. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. If you've seen enough photos, you're gonna know it doesn't make sense. What is it? It doesn't make sense. It's beyond common sense. It's because there's no answer for it. Unless you know what they are. And the only way to really reach there is you have to at least minimal recognize voice to skull and lower voice to skull. That's the only way. If you're not receiving that, no expert can explain this. They can't. Only true TIs are receiving or recognizing that they are receiving lower voice to skull and recognize voice to skull. Only based off of those experience and having the no fear mentality will eventually lead the TI to understand what's going on and what these things are and question these things. Like for any person that's not receiving voice to skull, is not going through this. If I tell them what these things are, it's hard for them to believe it. Their mind is not capable of processing it because they have not experienced it. So it's like they're at a blockage of understanding what's going on, accepting the information. But as soon as they have enough experience, then the information will most likely make sense to that TI. It possibly could make sense to the TI. But at minimal, based on my experience, I mean, I went through voice to skull. I recognize lower voice to skull, so it needs those experience. And I understand the no fear mentality when it comes to these thoughts. So it takes at minimal those things to happen to the TI. And for that TI to have those experience, then it's possible they can process the information I'm sharing right now.
It's not just a bunch of pretty lights. Something, it's there in the environment, and the camera's picking it up.
So
Now look at this photo. What is this?
I tell him what it is. I said, that's exactly what it looks like. It's a glare off the lens.
What do you call this? Is this still a light flare?
See, the thing about targeted Patton, when you says a glare off the lens, to me, like I don't see any glare. Like glare is something that's so like shiny, like reflecting off of like a silver, a really clean looking silver plate outside in a bright sun, and it's like reflecting the light. Like to me, that's a glare. Like in this image, it's not really glare. It's actually at the angle where there's really no direct sunlight shining into the camera lens. At least that's not what I see right now. They could have done some effect to it, but I don't see a glare. It's not even really reflecting off the windshield. I don't see a glare that's glaring at me.
Before I realized these things, I had no idea they were actually in Hollywood for a long time. From now on, when you watch a movie, you will focus on them when you see them, because that's how it works for me. And I'm sure it's going to work for you, because now I brought light into this topic. I planted the seed in your head. So the next time you watch TV and movie, you're going to realize, wow, these things are actually being shown more often than you realize. But before this, if you don't know about them, you've seen it many times. Go.
Okay, so I go on. I'm talking to him in the chat, and he does respond back. But I told him, I said, talk to someone who's an expert in cameras and lighting. And I told him, I was like, they really got you. Have you talked to any experts in cameras or lighting? And he's like, look, you watch all movies and you'll see this. I said, yeah, movies are recorded with cameras. Cameras have lenses. And I said, have you asked a camera expert about this yet? He keeps avoiding it. He keeps avoiding that. I said, they can explain what you're seeing. I think they put this idea in your head because he talks about them putting ideas in your head. I said, you ever think of that? And he's like, if you don't believe in this stuff, you don't believe that there's energies and there's powers that influence people to do things. I said, I do, but they're making you look pretty stupid. I said, have you ever, and he talks about, oh, nobody, you don't want to do the work. You don't want to do the work. I said, have you done the work of asking a camera or lighting expert about these things?
I have done a lot of the work. Okay, a lot of the work, Targeted Patton. And I hope by me making this video answer a lot of your questions. And I hope I clarify a lot of things between what you believe in your neighbors. Even if you don't believe me, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do about your situation? As you continue to believe your neighbors are gang stalkers, as you continue to leave your front door when your neighbors are out front, okay? Have you considered trying to not leave your front door when your neighbors are outside? You should consider doing that. You should only leave your front door when your neighbors are not in front of their house or when your neighbors are not leaving within that 5-minute frame, Like, have you tried doing that? What solutions do you have for yourself in your situation, in your environment? Or do you plan on moving out of there? Do you plan on leaving your home and living somewhere else for a couple weeks? Just try that out. Have you tried maybe going camping for a weekend, or a couple months, going somewhere else? Relocate. Or maybe plant some trees in front of your house so you don't see a direct view of your neighbors. Or set up a wall, a higher fences with plants and some vines, some type of climbing roses or something, right? With thorns. So that also prevent them from getting close to your fence. Have you tried doing that? A higher fence with some climbing roses so it looks pretty, right? And you fence your neighbors out of your view. Have you tried to eliminate from them looking over at your property if you believe they're looking at your property? Like, have you done those things? So what are you going to do if you don't believe the things I'm sharing with you? Like, the information I'm sharing right now, it's not like other TIs. And I want to help the TI community. So maybe you should also consider analyzing the information I'm sharing or watch this videos a few times to get different perspective. Because I know each time you watch it, you're probably going to get a new perspective of what's going on. And try believing the things I'm saying and test that out. Maybe that'll help you. You got to try these different things. But if you're going to continue to keep believing your neighbors are gang stalkers, well, then you're going to continue down the same path until some divine intervention to happen for you to snap out of it, or for you to realize not your neighbors, or for you to maybe something else happen in a good way.
I'm not trying to be offensive or anything. I'm trying to help you. He goes on and on and on here.
Watch any one of the movies you've seen in the past, one of your favorite movies, is probably in it. I watch old previous movies that I watched as a kid, and they were in those movies. But I had no idea at the time. Look at this photo. What is this?
Now, this photo actually has a glare. This would be a glare, okay? But also it doesn't explain what it's in it. See, the camera have no problem capturing the background, have no problem capturing this person's shirt, backpack, the hat, right? The glare, the plants, the ground, his hands, but also capture some other stuff. So my point is, what is that other stuff that's captured? That is the big question that I'm bringing awareness to. What is that? Why is there blue? Why is there purple? Why is there green? Why is there red? Why is there yellow? Why is there pink? Why is there white colors? Why is there different size, different shapes? Why do they extend out like that? What is it? What else is in the environment? Something else is in the environment. The camera's capturing things that are in the environment, right? The camera have no problem capturing the environment, but also capture something that people don't talk about. And it's written off as just glare, light glare, light flare, light hitting the camera lens, dirt on the camera lens. No, it's not that simple. It's a lot really advanced.
Look at this one. Like when you see a photo like this, what is this? It looks like a gang to me. Or this one.
I mean, he goes on and
See,
on.
this is a poker match on TV. And as this person walked towards the camera, look, you see this. What is this? Does this look like a light flare to you?
It's hitting the lens. Yes.
I mean, they're just everywhere. Look at this down here. Like, what is this?
Exactly what it
Look at
looks
these three
like.
dots. It might be hard for you to understand or try to believe that there's intelligence in this.
It is funny.
Right? When you look at this, it's hard for you to believe in that. I mean, how can you look at these dots and think there's intelligence in these things? Like, what? They're just light. And Nikola Tesla, he found out there's energy everywhere.
Boom.
Right? There's free energy
Lighting
everywhere.
effect.
Their little ball into place and be like.
Targeted Patton mentioned these are some type of layering effect. And this is not an effect. This is just the camera capturing something that's shown on the screen. And yes, it required the light to hit, I believe, hitting the camera lens, yes. But it's not just a simple layer effect. Okay, I don't know what really layer effect means when the light hits the lens. So when the light hits the lens, it created this. So if I ask an expert how do they explain this, they'll probably either wouldn't really understand, but they'll rephrase whatever they learned through the textbook. They'll probably draw some diagram of how the light's reflecting back and forth inside the lens, right? It hit the front lens, it goes through, hits the other small mirrors inside the other inside behind the lens, inside the camera, hitting all these different mirrors, bouncing back and forth, and then somehow create this straight line, looks like a straight line with all these dots. And somehow they position it as like layers. I'm gonna ask the expert. So are you actually inside the camera? And you watching the light coming in slow motion and doing all these bouncing back and forth, and then somehow finally get into create an image like this. So if you're an expert in this, can you mimic this image? Can you create this 100% every time? Can you create the same type of lighting effect every time at the same spot, or maybe a different spot if you want to? They can't. At the location, if they want to pick a location and recreate this, you might see some little bit of similarity, but it's not going to be the same. There might be some major lighting effect where it's kind of the major pieces might be okay, it's there. But there's also other effects where they just can't recreate. And the ones they can't recreate, why can't they recreate it?
Are there any ghosts here? There's ghosts everywhere you go. EMF detectors. Put the detector, and now the detector just and all you gotta do is just put the detector near one of these things. They're everywhere. 2000 maybe or late 90s on MTV or something.
Now, this is a good. Okay, so you see the glare, and then you see the little lines, looks like little orbs, right? Little circles. Now, I believe if they try to go to this location and recreate this without the Destiny Childs there, it's not going to be the same. Because these Destiny Childs, they are famous, so they also have a bunch of these things following them. Okay, celebrities always got a lot more gangstalkers, but they're nice enough to a point where it probably doesn't behave like the gangstalkers that we have experienced. So, without the Destiny Childs there, they're not going to be able to recreate this with the lighting effect.
Back in the days, single thought in my mind. But now, knowing what I know, when I see, and you'll be surprised on a daily basis how many people watching TV out there.
Oh, that was great. I didn't even notice how the light glare moved. Okay, how the light glare actually moved, but then that line didn't really move. Watch a light glare.
You'll be
move.
surprised on a daily basis how many.
See that? See the light glare? Okay, it's moving, but that line with all the dots is actually kind of stationary in the center. As the light glare is kind of getting the light's getting blocked off by that giant boulder in the
Many
back.
people watching TV out there, and when they see some on a daily basis, how many people watching TV out
the
there,
light glare get blocked off by that
and you'll be
boulder in the
surprised
back?
on a daily basis how
But
many
the
people
dots are
watching
still there.
TV out there, and when they see something like this in movies, it does nothing to them. It triggers zero curiosity. It just nothing.
So that's where I started talking about
Like this is actually in a movie. What are all these red dots? And what are all these other dots?
This is where I said, yeah, movies are recorded with cameras. Cameras have lenses. Have you ever asked a camera expert about this yet?
Things I'm telling you further into it. Different from yours, then that's and a lot of doing stupidest things.
Now, camera lenses, okay? So inside the camera lens, okay? So what is he trying to say here? Is he trying to say the light hits the camera and goes through the lens and reflects off whatever's inside the lens to create this? And somehow it's making these yellowish orb looking dots in the middle, and then the bigger red ones on the side in the background kind of looks like it's in the back, and the yellows are in the front. But the lens, the camera, also capturing the actors on horses in the background. I believe there's spirits everywhere. And if they're gonna film this, okay, wherever they filmed this scene, okay, somewhere out in like Death Valley or whatever, or some little valley somewhere, okay, out by LA, wherever they filmed it, okay. I'm just gonna make an assumption here. When they have a production scene at a location like that, it always attracts the nearby spirits, the nearby energies, okay? It attracts them because there's something's going on. And I truly believe in during a movie scene, it seems these things are at a heavier, more dense, more concentrated. It's because they're at a production scene. There's things going on, so they kind of naturally gather, kind of like people would gather and see what's going on. Same thing. So it's like a group of energy and attracts more energy. So these people on set and all the crew, all the staff, all the people, the actors, everybody's on set, and all the equipments, right? The equipments, right? The lunch area where they eat food, all these lighting effects, all these power source, all these electricity power attracts these things. And that's why they all gather there, and it's very easy for the cameras to pick them up, which they do show up quite often in movies. This is what the camera's picking up. I mean, they can edit stuff like this. They could just edit it out. Why don't they edit this out? Do you think the director really want this scene in the actual final production of a movie because it looks cool? Because one, it probably, yeah, it does look really cool. It looks like, what is it? What is that? It always makes you go, ah, what is that? That's cool. But then they don't think about why it does it happen like that. What's causing it? Or most people probably don't even have an interest to know what's causing it. Because it's like, I believe our mind is being prevented to research into it, to understand what they are. It's like they're preventing people from discovering it because they're in everyone's head. They're purposely taking away that idea, that curiosity to know what it is. If an expert knows what this is and for sure knows, they can create this inside a room, a studio. They can create this lighting effect inside, indoor, if they know what it is. But they won't be able to.
Well, those stupidest things, the ideas came from somewhere. And those ideas, well, all these years of what I
So, long story short,
understand what's going on.
I keep telling him, look it up, okay? I said, I'm not trying to be offensive. I hope you talk to an expert in camera imagery and lighting effects. And then he's like, eventually he gets to this one. Hold on.
So it seems like this entire time, Targeted Patton actually believed that I was live. He actually believed that I was live and I was talking and probably was reading his comment but not answering him. So he truly believed that. So he's not wrong in the way he felt because he thought it was the truth. But from my perspective, I wasn't even there. But from his perspective, it was the truth because he thought I was there. And I was probably reading his comment. His dumpster stain gangstalker probably told him that, well, he's ignoring you. He's purposely not want to answer you because you're calling him out or whatever, or you're letting him know. He probably doesn't know what to say about that. Like probably feeding all these negative thoughts and ideas because he was in a moment that, yeah, he's typing, but I'm not answering. So he's more vulnerable to be receiving those negative thoughts about me at the time, and I'm sure he probably did. That's why he made this video afterwards.
Most evil.
Boy, he goes on for a
Can you
while.
explain scientific? This is not or.
Okay, this video is getting long, so I'm just kind of want to end it. I hope I already answered practically all his questions. Um, but this is a good part to stop because if you look at the image here,
About
See,
okay, if you look at this image here, you look at these circles, okay, these lines. This image alone, you just stare at it. It's not, you can't answer it something so simple as in, oh, just a glare, okay, a light hitting the lens and it creates a glare. This is not that simple. Look at what you're looking at. So how can the light hit the lens and go through the lens, hitting the mirrors and bounce back and forth and somehow created this? Okay, so the way they scientifically, technically, the technical way of this happening is the light goes through the lens, it reflects, bounce back and forth inside the mirror of the lens, okay, and that's how it got into the image. So this is from lights bouncing back and forth inside the camera lens and give you this final product. Does that make sense to you? Does that actually, can you imagine lights bouncing back and forth inside the mirror and it creates this image? Think about it. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't add up to, for me. It's hard for me to accept that theory. There's nothing wrong with the camera. The camera can capture everything else fine. As a matter of fact, this was in full HD when it was live on TV. I'm watching it on my television. Everything looks like really, really high def. Nothing's wrong with the camera. The camera just capturing this. It's picking up in the environment. You see, these things are in the environment. And it's hard to believe that they're there and we're walking through them or we're walking within it. It's hard to accept that. That idea is hard to believe. But that's exactly what it is. We're walking inside these things. These things are huge. They're in the environment. I truly believe they are the atmosphere. They are what created the atmosphere. And there's a lot of them. And that's how they know everything about people, because they're all connected and they're there in the environment. We just don't see it with our eyes, but our technology, our camera definitely picks it up. The technology picks it up. What we're looking at is advanced. Okay? Gangstalkers are not dumb. They might behave like a bunch of little dumb kids. Okay? Excuse my language, but kids, they do some dumb stuff sometimes. But I also have to tell you, those ideas that was given to the kid to do dumb things, where did they come from? They come from these dumpster-stained gang stalkers, because they are in everyone's head. So our kids, the kids are the most vulnerable. That's why, that movie Sinister? You ever seen that movie? The horror film Sinister? Well, if you watch horror films, like supernatural horror film, you'll realize, or stories, that happens in real life, how how a kid murdered a whole family. Like the movie Sinister, how in the end, spoiler alert, it was the kid that did all these bad things. Well, you have to ask yourself that question. Who's feeding the thoughts and ideas into the kid's mind to do those things? Well, in the movie, okay, just based off a movie, it came from that supernatural thing, that evil thing. Because the kid's mind is the most vulnerable. Because the kids have not developed strong reasoning skills or understand that, shouldn't do those things. People could get hurt or whatever. Or shouldn't get overly upset to hurt your family. See, the kid is most vulnerable in every single family. And that's where these things like to target. If you have dumpster-stained gang stalkers, they can easily make your kids become a brat. They can make your kids go against you as a parent. They can make you get pissed easily because your kids don't listen or your kids talk back to you. Well, that's because a lot of the kids' distraction, ADHD, a lot of the kids talking back to you, disrespecting you, doing things like when you told them not to do and don't remember to behave properly. Those negative thoughts all comes from these dumpster-stained gang stalkers. Because these dumpster-stained gang stalkers are everywhere. They are in the environment. And they come in different sizes. And they know our thoughts. And they are advanced. Does that theory make any sense? It makes a lot of sense to me. And it took me years to figure this out. And if it doesn't make sense to you, well, now you have the information. Maybe one day it'll connect the dots in your head. Maybe. But for now, I need you guys to think about it. Like, what are you looking at right now? What is this in the image that's behind this lady? Looks like a straight line with all these different sides, these different dots, different colors. Can light shine into through a camera lens and create this? Is that the answer you're gonna take? You're gonna accept that answer? Just light shining through the lens and then bouncing back and forth inside the mirror of the lens and then give you this image? You're gonna accept that answer? Is that answer good enough for you? Because scientifically, that's how they give the answer. Because I know science is good. I'm nothing against science, but I also know a lot of science came from greed, from scientists that just wants to have an answer for things that no one has given an answer yet, so they can be the first to give an answer and coin a certain phrase. There's a lot of greed behind that, in a lot of the discovery. Okay, if a person wants to sit there and want to be recognized for a discovery, they can probably figure some things out, right? Or they can bring awareness. But I'm bringing awareness to the community based on observation and based on my experience. So right now I'm sharing you my experience and also what I observe. And now you're seeing this as I'm seeing it. Are you okay with the scientific answer of just light bouncing back and forth inside the lens and the mirror inside the lens and create this image? For me, it's more complex than that. This is not just light shining out of a camera lens. This is a camera capturing something in the environment. This is in the environment and the camera's capturing it. It's at that exact location wherever they are, and it's capturing it. So I hope I've answered targeted pattern in all these. And I if you've been following me, you should know by now that in my videos for the last year or so, I've been very understanding of what's going on. Like, I know it's not the TI that's having anything against each other or against me. It's all because of the TI's dumpster stain gang stalkers that's behind the scene, and they're getting away with all this BS. And I'm bringing them into the spotlight, and I'm letting them know that I know what's going on with them messing around. And I'm just helping the TI. Hopefully, the TI can also figure this out and discover that, hey, they're dumpster stain gang stalkers. It's been there messing with them the whole time. And 7th Hanuman's the first one to talk trash to them. And that they need to spread the word because 7th Hanuman is also talking trash to the one in their environment. They're all dumpster stains. Bitches. So I hope this helps you TIs out there. And no hard feeling, targeted Patton. Okay, I'm just trying to help out and answer any questions you have. Because you did have a lot of questions. I didn't want to leave you hanging. Because if I did not answer your questions, then that means your dumpster stain gang stalkers are getting away with feeding you negative thoughts and reassuring those negative thoughts that, oh, because I didn't answer you. So I just want to make this video and answer you to help minimize, okay, or to hopefully help eliminate those negative thoughts that your dumpster stain gang stalker planted in your head. Okay, all with good intention that I'm trying to help you and answer your questions. So if you have any questions, let me know, comment. All right, thank you all for watching. No fear. Shimon, signing out.